So that's Nat sound right now.
He just wants to verify that he can hear it, because he can see bagpipes, but he can't hear anything.
Right. Nope. I got it now. Sorry, I'd forgotten he had shut the audio down. In terms of, he's probably potted everything down, so. Got it?
He's right. Yeah, we can hear it. Okay, so we're good.
Good deal.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our ceremony on this hallowed ground, on this special weekend. You all know about the inscription on the granite. All gave some gave all. And this afternoon we're focusing primarily on the some who gave all, not only today, but this special weekend. Before we start, please make sure your cell phones, if you have them, are on silence. When the ceremony concludes, I will remind you, but if you're heading into Dubuque or Jackson County, we're asking you, when you exit, to drive around the island, underneath the Dubuque, Wisconsin Bridge, past the Q Casino, and exit to your right. If you're headed back to Wisconsin, Grant County, beyond Joe Davies County in northwest Illinois, please exit to the right and head northeast. That way nobody is crossing almost four lanes of traffic on what no doubt is one of the busier traffic weekends of the year. We want everybody to get home safely. So thank you so much. I will remind you of that at the end of the program. We will have security helping you guide your way out of City Island. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge and introduce Field Commander Dan White.
Color Guard, 10 Hut, present arms.
Performing the national anthem, Mr. William Stock. Please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That is. We're gonna run the flag up, guys. 10 Hut, present arms.
For our opening prayer today, I'd like to call on Chaplain Tom Walsh.
The writer Frederick Broekdick has written of a place where we can go when we need to lay hold of things that should not be forgotten. He names it a room called Remember. Some memories, he say, comes to us uninvitedly and unexpectedly, but some memories we choose to reclaim intentionally and purposely because they are important. Some memories are sweet and reassuring, and they warm us. Some memories are hard and heartbreaking, and they warn us or humble us or stir us from complacency and trivia. This memorial, you might say, is a place called Remember. I come here each evening, sometimes alone, and sometimes with others, enjoying the beauty and the serenity I love about this place. But this beauty and serenity belies the hard and heartbreaking memories this place venerates, that we come today to reclaim intentionally and purposely. We remember the men and women whose names are engraved on these pavers and benches, no matter what branch of service, what war or conflict, some still with us, and others that have reported to our Supreme Commander. We remember the words of Jesus, there is no greater love than this, that one lay down his life for his friends. And now we are gathered here once more to remember, lest we forget. We resolve to remember that our sorrows will not be wasted, but they will only increase our commitment and determination to draw closer to one another, to love our neighbor and perhaps even our enemy, and to forgive and to rebuild and to renew. But is that possible? And is it possible that Jesus really meant it when Jesus said, turn the other cheek, forgive those who have sinned against us, pray for those who war against us? Was he misquoted? Was that just so much antiquated Hebrew hyperbole? Or is that God's own holy truth? Is God's way the only way that centuries-old cycles of retribution will be broken, that hate can be rooted out, and sanity can be restored, and that the world can be by its own nature changed? We gather in this hope today, in this place called Remember. Let us pray. Father, we ask you to continue to heal our wounds and the wounds of our nation, and that you would continue to comfort and sustain the families who still suffer from the losses occurred. Forgive us, Father, when we give into hatred, when we nurse our grievances. Make us ministers of reconciliation. Make us instruments not of hate, but of your peace. Make us builders, not destroyers, healers, not avengers. We give thanks for the shining spirit of courage and self-giving love that emerged from the darkness of wars. With such models of heroism before us, we make a renewed commitment to work for mercy and kindness for peoples all over the world. Increase and extend our compassion for those everywhere who are the victims of misfortune, violence, or injustice. Help us to identify for ourselves those sources of light and light that cannot be shaken by any terrorist. May we find in you, Lord, an unshakable place to stand and the courage to build and live lives of courage and conviction. Keep our hearts tender, Father, and our minds alert to the human needs around us. May we each seek out and find the works of love that we can do, and when we need to lay hold of things that should not be forgotten, may we return to this hallowed place, a room called Remember. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Walsh. We have distinguished guests. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We have a number of distinguished guests and speakers today. Before I introduce all of them collectively, a welcome from the mayor of the great city of Dubuque, Roy Buell. Mayor Buell.
Good afternoon. As mayor, it's my great honor to be with you today and on behalf of a grateful community, share in reflection of and honor for the selfless dedication of our fallen military heroes, 3,300 of whom are represented in the stone and steel around us. I extend a special welcome to all in attendance and wish to acknowledge my City Council colleagues with us today. On behalf of my colleagues and the residents we represent, I want to convey our pride in having Dubuque serve as home to such a meaningful, such an exquisite plaza, to honor our fallen veterans, pronouncing their unwavering commitment to protecting our nation's highest ideals of freedom and equality. The Veterans Memorial Project, led by veterans, opened November 11th, 2009. The new additions to the plaza, notably the inclusion of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, has made this location a place that will serve for quiet reflection, contemplation, appreciation, and celebration of the patriotism, service, and sacrifice of our veterans. I want to express our collective gratitude to the Dubuque Racing Association Board of Directors and staff, the Chaplain Schmidt Island Task Force, led by former council colleague Kevin Lynch, and all involved in the design and construction of this remarkable project. Your commitment, expertise, and pride are evident in what we see today. I want to thank our city staff involved in the design and construction management phases of this project, as well as the DRA and city staff involved in preparations for today's event. I want to share our immense gratitude to the Dubuque Racing Association for funding of this project and the annual financial support for its maintenance. The city's leisure services staff will maintain the plaza with the same dedication and commitment that went into its design and construction. As we gather here today, it feels palpable that we are called to follow the example of our fallen soldiers, to act in solidarity for the greater good of our community. We can pay tribute to them and to their loved ones by doing so, and by strengthening programs and services that assist their injured and ill brothers and sisters in service, our local veterans. I'll close with a quote by President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who said, quote, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them," end quote. Congratulations to all involved in this unifying project to honor the sacrifice of our veterans. May they know they left behind a grateful nation.
Thank you, Mayor Buell. Other guests who are here today but will not be speaking include council members, and we welcome them all. Rick Jones, Dave Resnick, Susan Farber, Laura Roussel, Brad Kavanaugh. State Senator Pam Yoakum is here today. Pam, great to see you. State Representative Lindsey James, State Representative Steve Bradley, State Representative Chuck Eisenhart. Senator Grassley sent his regrets that he could not be here today, but Rochelle Fuller from his office is here representing the senator. Sam Pritchard is here representing Congresswoman Henson's staff. How about a hand for all of our supporters in Des Moines and Washington? It was 80 years ago, 1941, December 7, that Chaplain Al Schmidt lost his life aboard the USS Oklahoma. And we are here to honor all fallen veterans today, but Chaplain Schmidt in particular. 80 years is a long time, and it's only right that this island bears his name, in my and your view. I know you agree with me. We have representing the Schmidt family today, and our next speaker, to reminisce for a couple minutes, the great nephew of Chaplain Aloysius Schmidt, Dr. Steve Sloan from Dubuque. Dr. Sloan.
Wow, what a great day. Simply amazing. I would like to thank some people first of all. I would like to thank the entire Dubuque Racing Association. They had a vision. They said we are going to make a world-class monument, and I think you would all agree today that mission was successful. We have a world-class monument right here in Dubuque, Iowa. So thank you. I would also like to thank Rick Dickinson. Rick was the first contact our family had with this project, and Rick was sincere and very dedicated to making sure family was involved all along the way. So, Rick, thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan and the entire city staff and city council. Just kind of give you a little history. Father Al's memorial initially was done in 1973, and it sat down here, and late 70s, early 80s, Dubuque had some hard times, and sometimes maintenance kind of went by the wayside, to the point where actually we had a professor from Loris, Craig Schaefer, who would put a lawnmower in the trunk of his car, come down here and mow the grass around Father Al's memorial. Well, since Mike joined the Dubuque team and the city council since then, that has never been an issue. And I'm so happy to report, as you heard earlier, that the agreement between the city and Dubuque Racing Association, we will never have to worry about maintenance again. So thank you all for that. Kevin Lynch. Kevin Lynch has been the point man on this project, and I can't say enough good about Kevin. He has put in the effort and the time he has put in is short of significant. It's beyond comprehension, to be quite honest. But he's always been professional. He's always paid attention to detail, I think probably second to not any. And Kevin has just been an amazing guy to work with. So Kevin, I can't thank you. I do say if you want to get a hold of Kevin, the best time is about 5 o'clock in the morning. So just so you know. Father Mode. Father Mode, right behind me, you'll get to hear him next. The first time I got to meet Father Mode, we were in the Pentagon, and we were waiting outside his office. And I looked on a wall, and there was a picture of Father Al hanging there. And I thought, you know what? I think this meeting might go pretty good. And I was right. I was right. Father Mode has been through this from the get-go with us. When Father Al's remains were identified, he was with us. When we brought Father Al back to Iowa, he was with us. When we got the medal upgrade, he was with us. And guess what? He's with us again. So we are tickled pink to have him here. He just came from Japan. It's not an easy, plane ride, but he's here. And I think Father Mode really loves Iowa, to the point I think maybe Mayor Buell, if we could give him a key to the city, he might be a Dubuquer too, okay? So thank you, Father Mode. And Dolphin just gave him the keys to Kinnick Stadium. Most importantly, I would like to thank all of you for being here. Your presence makes this day even more special, so thank you. So you want to know a little bit about Father Al, what was he like? I'll just give you just a brief picture. You have to remember, I never met Father Al. Though when I was a kid growing up, I can't think of many holidays where the discussion wasn't had about Father Al. He was gentle, he was soft-spoken, he had a quick wit, he loved to play cards, and really enjoyed golf. But usually that discussion would somehow end with what happened December 7th. The family never knew what happened to Father Al. And I remember one time in particular, his sister, Sister Germaine Schmidt, who is a Franciscan from here in Dubuque, made the comment, when I go to heaven, I'm going to find Al, and I'm going to ask him, Al, what happened December 7th? So it's only a big sister could say to a little brother, she asked. We never knew, of course, and we still don't. But what we do know is that a lot of things have happened since Father Al has passed. We do know that the Archdiocese of Dubuque has had close to 50 priests become chaplains. That was the highest number of any archdiocese in the United States. We do know the Navy commissioned a ship in honor of Father Schmidt. It was christened by his sister Betty. We do know that the chapel at Loras College was dedicated to Father Schmidt. The Navy representative that day was Admiral Nimitz, who was actually the fleet commander of the Pacific Fleet, or the commander of the Pacific Fleet. We do know Joe Kennedy and the Kennedy family donated an altar to that chapel. Probably the thing we do know for sure too is Father Al lived the motto of the college he loved. He loved Loras College, and Loras College's motto was Pro Deo et Patria, for God and country. I think he satisfied that motto. I think, if we asked him what would his thoughts be on this day, I think he would tell you, like probably every service person around us, wouldn't be deserving of the honor, all the work that's gone into this project. He would actually be humbled and say, I was just doing my job. And I think most everyone here that served for our country would say the same thing. The last thing I would ask of you, I have a request, is if you get a chance, go to the monument skyward. Walk in there, read the poem, then close your eyes and pretend you're Father Al. It's December 7th. You're in Pearl Harbor. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. You just finished Mass. 7:56, there's an explosion on the port side, shortly followed by 3 more explosions on the port side. The ship, within 19 minutes, goes onto its side. There's water pouring in. The smell of air is from the fuel of the ship. The walls are now floors. The floors are walls. Navy sailors and Marines are yelling. Bombs are exploding. Guns are firing. Now, it's pitch black. Now, open your eyes and look up to the top of that monument, and you see the blue sky and the clouds. That was the final view Father Al had of the outside world. More importantly than that, please remember that every man and woman who has ever put on a military uniform for the United States of America is willing to take that final view. They are our heroes. They are the reason we are here. Let us never forget them. May God bless all of those people who have ever worn a military uniform, and may God bless this memorial. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sloan. Captain Daniel L. Mode, Chaplain of the 7th Fleet, United States Navy. Let me put that in perspective. He's the chaplain of more than 20,000 sailors. Big job, he's up for the task, and he made room in his schedule to be here today because he also is a huge fan of Chaplain Al Schmidt. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Daniel L. Mode, United States Navy.
Thank you, especially for the honor of inviting me to speak at the rededication of the Chaplain Schmidt Island Veterans Memorial Plaza. As a Catholic priest and a Navy chaplain for the past 29 years, it is not only a personal blessing for me to be present at this rededication, but also being here is the culmination of the past 5 years of intersecting into the life and memory of Chaplain Schmidt and the wonderful city of Dubuque. The human spirit longs to connect to our roots, our past, our history. Truly, our souls instinctively seek to remember and literally touch the events, the tangible objects, and most of all, the people who have gone before us. One of the most enduring ways for communities and individuals to touch our collective memories is to physically touch memorials like this one. Built to honor those who have served our nation and those who have paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that stand as continued blessings in our life. The Chaplain Schmidt Island Veterans Memorial Plaza is a lasting monument to us and future generations who long to connect with and touch the heroic stories and events of the men and women of our armed forces. I grew up in a Navy family. My dad was a Navy captain. I lived all over the world, and to date, I've never lived anywhere longer than 4 years. I went to 3 different high schools in 2 different countries. Yes, I'm a bona fide Navy brat and a geographical mutt. My dad commissioned my brother, who served his career on submarines, and my brother commissioned me, a Navy chaplain. As a Navy chaplain, I've had the privilege to serve around the globe and to care and minister for men and women of the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marines. In the 22 months I served in Afghanistan, I served Army units like the 123rd Airborne Rangers and companies of the 10th Mountain throughout the war zone, and I ended up offering, in those 22 months, 586 masses for 16,121 service members, going on 232 different missions to 48 different forward operating bases. During my time at Joint Commands in the Middle East and in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, I often flew with the Air Force. And in Cuba, I became very close friends and was pastor to a captain in the Merchant Marines. As you know, Navy chaplains serve all maritime services, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. While most of my time I have been assigned to Navy commands, I've served with Marines at Quantico Marine Corps Base in Virginia and served as the chaplain of the United States Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut. The bottom line, I have 42 different uniforms in my closet. I've served on 4 ships, the USS Kennedy, the USS Truman, USS George Washington, and most recently and currently on the USS Blue Ridge in Yokosuka, Japan. During these 7 years of sea time, I would often make pastoral visits to other ships in the fleet by boat or helicopter. The helicopter, by the way, was affectionately known when I was on board as the Holy Hilo. I've celebrated Mass, heard confession, and offered counsel to sailors at sea on 49 different ships. While I certainly have a bias for the Navy, I also have a love and an appreciation for all branches of the armed services. As I reflect on the beauty of this memorial and seek to touch the lives and the stories of those who have served from Iowa, my bias will show a little. Currently, I serve as a 7th Fleet chaplain located in Yokosuka, Japan, with ships deployed across the Pacific Ocean. As a grade school kid, I lived 4 years in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and one of my high school years was in South Korea. And as a chaplain, I've lived going on 5 years in the Western Pacific Theater of Operations and have traveled to 19 countries throughout Asia. I have a keen interest in the history of the war in the Pacific and have touched many of the memorials and national cemeteries that commemorate the services and sacrifices of those who fought at Pearl Harbor, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Midway, and the numerous other battles of World War II. So if you'll allow this Navy sailor to give in to his bias and reflect on the lives of 7 Iowans who fought in World War II and in the Pacific, I'd be grateful. While the name of Fleet Admiral Daniel Leahy does not resonate in our collective memories like the names of Admiral Bill Bull Halsey and Chester Nimitz, Admiral Leahy was arguably the most important naval officer during World War II. Born on May 6, 1875 in Hampton, Iowa, just 148 miles west of this memorial, he had a storied Navy career, rising to the rank of a 4-star admiral and appointed the Chief of Naval Operations, the most senior naval officer, taking the oath of office in January 1937, and he served until August of 1939, when he was placed on the retired list. On that occasion, President Roosevelt said, "Bill, if we have a war, you're going to be right back here helping me run it." In his retirement, he served as the governor of Puerto Rico and then U.S. ambassador to France. Once the U.S. entered into World War II, and true to President Roosevelt's word, he was recalled to active duty and made the first chief of staff to the commander-in-chief, which would later be known as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the top military leader and advisor to the president. During the war, he traveled with the president to every war conference with Stalin and Churchill. He was always a steady, calm, and wise advisor. Admiral Leahy spent D-Day, June 6, 1944, not in the Pentagon, not in Washington, D.C., but in his hometown of Hampton, Iowa. This well-publicized, sentimental journey was a part of a deception campaign and an effort to the surrounding Allied invasion of Europe. The idea was to lull German agents in Washington, D.C. or anywhere else in the United States into believing that an operation such as D-Day would never take place while such an important officer was out of the capital and in Iowa. Admiral Leahy was promoted to the rank of Fleet Admiral on December 15, 1944, the most senior of the 7 men who received the 5-star rank in 1944. Admiral Leahy is one of the countless service members from Iowa who served our nation with distinction and honor. As we touch this memorial, we touch the life of this true Iowan. And on my way to Dubuque from Des Moines, I drove through Hampton, Iowa, to touch that town in which Admiral Leahy was born. May we touch our memorials. My reflection on the next 5 Iowans all bear the same family name, and unlike the name of Leahy, are well known to Iowans and many Americans. Of course, I'm speaking of the Sullivan brothers, the 5 brothers, the sons of Thomas and Alita Sullivan of Waterloo, Iowa. They were George, Frank, Joe, Matt, and Al. The Sullivans enlisted in the United States Navy on January 3rd, 1942, with the stipulation that they all served together. The Navy had a policy of separating siblings, but this was not strictly enforced. George and Frank had served in the Navy before, but their brothers had not. All 5 were assigned to the light cruiser USS Juneau. Juneau participated in a number of naval engagements during the months-long Guadalcanal campaign, beginning in August 1942. Early in the morning of November 13, 1942, and during the naval battle of Guadalcanal, Juneau was struck by a Japanese torpedo and forced to withdraw. Later that day, as it was leaving the Solomon Island area for Allied Rear Area Base Espiritu Santo in the Pacific, with other surviving U.S. warships from the battle, the Juneau was struck again, this time by torpedoes from the Japanese submarine I-26. The torpedoes likely hit the thinly armored light cruiser at or near the ammunition magazine, and the ship exploded and quickly sank. 8 days after the sinking, 10 survivors were found by the PBY Catalina search aircraft and retrieved from the water. The survivors reported that Frank, Joe, and Matt died instantly. Al drowned the next day, and George survived for 4 or 5 days before suffering from delirium. He went over the side of a raft he occupied. He was never seen from again. The Sullivans were not the only brothers sailors on board the ships. At least 30 sets of brothers served on the Juneau. The Navy was very different then than now. In those days, men might serve most of their whole careers on one ship. If a ship was a good ship, good mates, food, command, they would stay. Additionally, when younger brothers came of age, they sometimes followed their older brothers into the Navy and onto the same ship because it was a good ship and they would have family there. It made serving away from home much easier. On the USS Arizona, there were 37 sets of brothers, 3 sets of 3, and Augusta and William Free, a father and son. 63 of the brothers were killed, and the father and son. On the USS Oklahoma, there were 10 sets of brothers serving together. After the sinking of the Juneau in 1942 and the loss of the 5 Sullivan brothers, the Navy tried to discourage the practice, but it continued then and still today, except in hostile areas. We have brothers and sisters, fathers and children, mothers serving together. The brothers of Mom and Dad, Tom and Aletta Sullivan, made speaking appearances at war plants and shipyards even after the loss of their son and on behalf of the war effort. Later, Aletta participated in the launching of the destroyer USS The Sullivans, named after her sons. The Navy has named 2 destroyers the Sullivans, one DD-537 and the other DDG-68, and currently serving in the Navy. This was the first time the Navy named a warship after more than one person. The motto of both ships, we stick together. I work on Yokosuka Naval Base, and the grade school on the base is named for the Sullivan brothers. Yesterday, Dr. Sloan and I visited Waterloo, Iowa. Why? To touch the life of the Sullivan brothers, to attend the museum, but most of all, to meet with Jim Sullivan, the only son of the 5. Al was the youngest of those brothers, and he was the only one who married and had Jim. Jim never really knew his father. He sat on his lap when he was just an infant, but we met him yesterday, and his daughter, who for 27 years has served as a sponsor for the ship, the USS Sullivans. We saw the original 5 Gold Star flag that hung in the Sullivans' home, announcing to their neighbors and to the world that they lost 5 sons in war. We visited where the house stood on 98 Adams Street. It's no longer there, but there's a memorial in the park where it now used to stand. And we went to the VFW beer hall to have a beer with Kelly and Jim in the Sullivan VFW beer hall. Why? Because we just wanted to touch this heroic event, these heroic souls, these Iowans. Now, through this memorial, many more can touch the legacy and sacrifice of the Sullivans. It was on June 17th, 2016. It was my first day in a new Navy assignment at the Chief of Chaplain's office at the Pentagon that I first touched the life and memory of Father Aloysius Schmidt. You can only imagine how overwhelmed I felt as I began to learn all my new responsibilities as I served Admiral Kibben, the Chief of Chaplains, as her Director of Plans and Operations. On that day, in the midst of all the turnover and all the required badging to get through the Pentagon, the phone rang on my new desk. It was the first call I would receive, and it was from retired Rear Admiral Ron Wilgenbush. The long and short of the call, a delegation from Dubuque, Iowa is coming to DC to start the process to seek an upgrade in Chaplain Aloysius Schmidt's posthumous Navy and Marine Corps medal. And they need my assistance and want me to talk to the Chief of Chaplains. A daunting request at any time, but especially on my first day on the job. A few months later, I received a call from the Pacific Fleet Chaplain informing me that the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency had recently identified the remains of Father Schmidt. In June of 1943, Father Schmidt's body, along with 428 of his shipmates, were recovered from the USS Oklahoma when the ship was refloated and salvaged and brought up from its watery grave in Pearl Harbor that had been its resting place since December 7, 1941. On October 8, 2016, I made my first of now 5 trips to Dubuque. I represented the Navy and the Chaplain Corps at the repatriation and funeral mass of Father Schmidt. On that fall morning at Christ the King Chapel at Loras College, I had the privilege to touch and reach out to the casket of the final remains of Father Schmidt, and also touch the very chalice that he offered that Mass on Sunday, December 7th, on the Oklahoma. Getting to know his family and other lives he touched was a gift beyond measure and a gift that keeps on giving. In those days and years to come, I was compelled to touch more and more of Father Al's story and life. I visited his home parish in St. Lucas, stood on the shores of Ford Island in Hawaii, looking at the very spot on Battleship Row where the Oklahoma was sunk, and where now the USS Oklahoma Memorial stands. Working with the committee that was seeking to upgrade his medal, I continued to learn more and more about the life and heroic death of Father Schmidt on the morning of December 7th. On that day, as I already mentioned, he celebrated Mass in the crew's recreation room. Shortly after his worship service, the first wave of Japanese aircraft attacked the Oklahoma, hitting her port side with multiple torpedoes. Quickly filling with water, she began to list badly to starboard side, with sailors rushing to find any open porthole. Chaplain Schmidt assisted many, and at least 12, to escape to safety. But when his turn to evacuate, he replied that he was having a tough time getting through. The group tried again to pull him through the porthole, telling him that if he went back inside the ship, he'd never get out. Realizing he was keeping others from escaping, he went back inside. Chaplain Schmidt was one of 19 Navy chaplains at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, and one of 2 that made the ultimate sacrifice, the other being Chaplain Tom Kirkpatrick on the USS Arizona, the first chaplains killed in World War II. Both chaplains had ships named in their honor and would inspire Fleet Admiral Nimitz to remark that the characteristics that most inspired him about chaplains was not their feats of valor, but their routine accomplishments. He continued to say, by his patient, sympathetic labors, and with the men in and day out, throughout many a night, every chaplain I know contributed measurably to the moral courage of the fighting men. Admiral Nimitz was also present in 1947 for the dedication of the Christ the King Chapel at Loras College, which stands as a memorial to the servicemen of World War II, and specifically to Chaplain Schmidt. On the 76th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, I once again palpably touched the life of Father Schmidt when I accompanied Rear Admiral Margaret Kibben, Navy Chief of Chaplains, to Dubuque and Loras College to present on behalf of the Secretary of the Navy the richly deserved Silver Star Medal, the Navy's 3rd highest award, to the nephew, Del Schmidt. Today, we gather to rededicate the Chaplain Schmidt Island Veterans Memorial Plaza. Today, we gather to touch the lives of our Iowan veterans, and really even more than touching their lives, we are so profoundly touched by their lives, their legacy of all who have served our country. When we embrace our collective memories and when we touch memorials, we are not only remember and honor our veterans, but also our lives are changed. They are touched. And we are given encouragement to offer our own witness, our own selflessness. God bless this memorial, and God bless all those who have served. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Mode. Steve, thank you for being here today. We have a tremendous amount of relatives and descendants of Chaplain Al's family here, Chaplain Schmidt. For those of you who can stand, would you please? We'd love to give you a collective round of applause for the Schmidt family and the descendants. Thank you all for making the trip. You heard earlier the Chaplain Aloysius Schmidt Veterans Memorial, Chaplain Schmidt Island, was first born in 1973. We remember the founding committee members of that group today, as well as the committee that created all this, or at least had the idea for it. The Veterans Memorial Plaza, dedicated November 11, Veterans Day 2009. The project founder was Louis Cartman. His group included Mark Mulvihill, P. Keith Shearer, and George Goebel. We remember the founding committee of the Veterans Memorial Plaza today. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome all of our Gold Star mothers and families who are here present today. And with that, I'd like to call your attention, draw your attention to my right as we welcome the Tri-State Veterans, Vietnam Veterans Memorial officially to this beautiful edifice with the roll call.
Today we gather at this memorial to honor those that paid the ultimate sacrifice from the 5 counties surrounding this site: Dubuque and Jackson in Iowa, Grant and Lafayette in Wisconsin, Joe Davis in Illinois, and in gratitude to the friends and families who encountered this tragic loss. Gerald T. Atkinson, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Ronald M. Beeks, Iowa.
Absent, sir. David G. Bettendorf, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Gerald A. Benson, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir. William A. Byer, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Roy R. Blewett, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Gerald R. Brines, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Larry J. Buddy, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Daniel H. Chatfield, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Michael J. Clemens, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Jerry L. Coloster, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Peter E. Cook, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Michael J. Davidson, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
David J. Donahue, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir. Michael W. Downey, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Philip J. Inlow, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Michael T. Fitzgerald, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Stephen F. Foyt, Illinois.
Absent, sir. Stephen C. Folt, Illinois.
Absent, sir.
Gary D. Frazier, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Joseph E. Funston, Illinois.
Absent, sir.
Daniel F. Gallagher, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir. Paul E. Gerlich, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Terry A. Gilbertson, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir. Thomas A. Goebel, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Gerald C. Griffin, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Maurice A. Hawes, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Roger W. Hines, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Lawrence A. Hilken, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Douglas R. Hodgson, Iowa.
Absent, sir. William O. Jurgens, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Roger H. Junk, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir. Gerald P. Kinney, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
David W. Nautz, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir. James P. Kurth, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Jamars Lop, Illinois.
Absent, sir. Michael P. Leiden, Illinois.
Absent, sir.
Dennis R. Mason, Iowa.
Absent, sir. John P. Malloy, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Ronald W. Meyer, Iowa.
Absent, sir. Charles L. Myers, Jr., Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Elis Mikalakis, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Philip D. Munson, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Francis T. Mulvey, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Carl A. Palin, MIA, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Richard L. Pitzer, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Robert J. Podner, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
James C. Powers, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Gerald S. Poliska, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Leland E. Radley, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Edmund W. Richardson, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Matthew A. Bruden, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Ronald R. Sagers, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
John K. Schmidt, Jr., Iowa.
Absent, sir.
David H. Sherlock, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Donald L. Smith, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Ronald M. Stein, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Merlin Stelfluck, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Richard E. Sutherland, Iowa.
Absent, sir.
Carl J. Taschek, Jr., Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
William P. Thomas, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Larry M. Welch, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Lloyd G. Weigel, Wisconsin.
Absent, sir.
Ronald A. Walter, Illinois.
Absent, sir.
Although the individuals on this memorial are not physically here, they will forever remembered in our hearts. At this time, we also wish to acknowledge Chaplain Schmidt for his heroism, as well as all the men and women from all of the wars that also made the ultimate sacrifice.
We'll now render a rifle salute. Would request everyone to stand at the playing of taps. Request everyone place your hand over your heart. Any veteran present, feel free to render a hand salute. Color guard, 10 hut. Rifle squad, port arms. Unlock. Ready, aim, fire. Aim, fire. Aim, fire. Praise that. Arms.
Thank you for being here today, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to end our wonderful ceremony quoting President Abraham Lincoln, who faced dark days of worry in 1864. Soldiers from the Ohio 166th Regiment stopped by the White House at his invitation as he saw them passing through the streets of Washington. Permit me to quote two paragraphs. I suppose you are going home to see families and friends for the service you have done in this great struggle in which we are engaged. I present you sincere thanks for myself and the country. It is not merely for today, but for all time to come, that we should perpetuate for our children's children this great and free government which we have enjoyed all our lives. I beg you to remember this not merely for my sake, but for yours. And with that, Decoration Day, now Memorial Day, was born. We remember today for all our sakes and for the next generation and the following generations for their sake, not only that we live in peace, but that we enjoy for generations now this beautiful Veterans Memorial Plaza. So we leave in peace and calm. Again, if you're headed back to Dubuque or Jackson County, we ask that you circle around the island. It's a beautiful drive, and exit on the Q Casino side of the highway. Wisconsin, Illinois, you can head right back out the way you came in and enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. Thank you very much for being here.